Hi guys, Rachael Cook, Doctor of Audiology, and in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing an episode of The Kardashians. Now, I love reality TV, but I'm not going to sit here and talk about the ins and outs of their new boyfriends or their business drama or anything like that. But I am going to be reviewing Season 5, Episode 3 of The Kardashians, where Kris Jenner is doing a lot of talking about hearing loss and tinnitus. Now, whether you're a fan of reality TV or not, the fact of the matter is that episodes like this really set the tone for a lot of viewers when it comes to these different types of disorders like hearing loss and tinnitus that people might not be super familiar with. That's why I've done previous videos reacting to other reality TV shows such as The Golden Bachelor or even The Bachelorette or Bachelor in Paradise, because it's really important for people to see these different health issues and conditions up on the big screen. But even though I get excited to see these things in everyday television shows, I also start getting a little bit nervous. And that's because sometimes the production team does a phenomenal job at really giving hearing loss and tinnitus a proper spotlight with some real facts and information. But other times what we see is some pretty bad information pop up, kind of like we're going to talk about today. But have no fear, I am here to set the record straight on what is true and what is not true, so hang tight. But before we dive in, if you could please give this video a thumbs up, it really helps bring videos like these to a wider audience. And while you're at it, if you have not yet already hit that subscribe button with notification bell, go ahead and do that too so that you never miss any one of our newly released videos. We really appreciate it, and with that, let's dive in. Now, the episode starts off with Kris Jenner, the matriarch of the family, sitting down and talking with her daughter Khloe and eventually her ex-son-in-law Scott Disick.
I have a ringing in my ears 24/7.
Do you know that there is like a background hum in this room?
Well, mine goes with me everywhere, in any room.
That frequency is like a and it doesn't stop. What does that mean? Is it always going to be there? Is there a solution? Is there a cure? I mean, there's all these unanswered questions. Does it get louder? Do you lose your hearing?
These questions are really no different than the questions that I get from patients sitting across from me every single day. Tinnitus is really a humming, a buzzing, or a ringing sensation that someone hears that isn't actually present in their environment. And if it pops up rather suddenly, it can be kind of alarming for the individual that's experiencing it. I know the first time that I noticed my own tinnitus, I remember thinking, man, I've got to find the source. There must be something electrical that's plugged in that's making this weird hum. And I searched my apartment up and down and couldn't find anything. Come to find out, it was just my ears.
I'm hoping that Corey will be just as attracted to me when I have a hearing aid, and I don't even have any hair to cover it.
Mom, well, you don't need a hearing aid. MJ doesn't have a hearing aid. Your mother, knocking on 90, doesn't have a hearing aid. And she's as, like, what? Smart as a whip, or what's the expression?
Bright as a tack.
Now, this is definitely a misunderstanding about hearing loss that I'd like to set straight. Now, Khloe is right somewhat. Hearing loss is incredibly common with aging, but there are a whole host of other causes that can cause hearing loss at any point in the lifespan. It doesn't just have to do with how old you are. Things like loud noise exposure, genetics, different medications that you might be taking, different health conditions. All of these things can cause hearing loss to develop at some point in life. I often even hear this from patients in the office that say, I feel like I'm not old enough to need a hearing aid yet. But the thing is you can develop hearing loss at any age, and that untreated hearing loss can eventually lead to perceiving some tinnitus. So to try to troubleshoot this issue, Kris then jumps on her phone and does a little bit of Googling. And here's the issue with the internet and tinnitus. It is the wild, wild west out there. Unfortunately, a lot of the mystery that we used to have about tinnitus left open the door for many different companies and manufacturers to jump in and say, hey, we can solve your tinnitus. You just need to take this supplement. You just need to take this course. You just need to tap on your head a few times and it'll magically go away. And this is not good science. In fact, check out what Kris finds when she does a quick search of tinnitus.
85,000 people got rid of this infuriating ringing noise and reclaimed their hearing health.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So what's up, ladies?
This is a really good example of the inflammatory language and false promises that a lot of these bogus companies on the internet use to try to get people to buy their product, essentially. Chris continues to read the article where it goes on to say that tinnitus is a dangerous activity happening in a tiny part of the brain. I'm sorry, what? I'll give them the tiniest bit of grace here by saying that tinnitus can sometimes be indicative of something more serious. In cases where tinnitus is only perceived on one side, is significantly louder on one side than it is on the other side, occurs rather suddenly out of nowhere, seems to really change in pitch or volume rather suddenly, or in cases where it might ebb and flow with your heartbeat, then yes, those are cases that I would say warrant an evaluation by an audiologist or a tinnitus specialist. But to use the blanket statement to say that tinnitus itself is a dangerous activity in the brain, garbage.
Dangerous
How is it in-
activity
Oh, you gotta
happening
try
inside
this
a
out.
tiny part of my
But
brain.
take your shoes off. You'll love
Hello?
the foot action.
If untreated, dementia, Alzheimer's, or Parkinson's could be in my
What
future.
did you say?
What is going on? Again, another fantastic example of the terrible marketing tactics that these companies will use to prey on desperate people with tinnitus. What they may be referring to is the idea that if hearing loss itself goes untreated for long periods of time, that your risk for developing some level of cognitive decline is much higher. But again, that information needs to be relayed with a lot of context and in a much more scientific, fact-based way, not in a way that is a scare tactic. Now, they kind of put a pause on this topic for a while until they switch over to show Chris and her daughter Kendall and a couple of other individuals having dinner with Gary from The Golden Bachelor.
Tell me about the hearing aids. Because I have been experiencing a bit of ringing in my ears. Did you ever hear the ringing?
Oh, it was bad. Got slowly but steadily a little louder, a little worse.
This makes sense given the fact that nearly 90% of individuals with tinnitus have some level of hearing loss.
So when do you know that you're ready for a hearing aid?
I think when you feel like you're frustrated enough that you're missing too much, it'll be time to go.
So based on everything that Chris was saying earlier in the episode, she says time and time again, I can't hear, my ears are ringing. To me, that definitely is a source of frustration and definitely signals that it's time to go and get it evaluated and checked out. And that's exactly what she does. But boy, oh boy, did this really, really tick me off.
Remember when we asked Gary about the hearing aids?
Yes. That's what you're doing today?
Well, I'm checking my hearing because my ears are ringing.
Claire, I didn't know
Yeah.
that about you.
Kendall. Hello.
Hi, Chris. How
How
are
are
you doing?
you?
Hey, how are you?
You know Kenny.
Nice new office.
What's going on? Tell me, how's the hearing? Are we making progress?
Not really.
Now, I did do a little bit of digging into Dr. Nassiri, and yes, he is definitely well-renowned, especially in the LA area. However, his website definitely points to the fact that he is quite the specialist in voice box disorders, sleep apnea, snoring, things that have to do more with the nose and throat, and it actually doesn't mention much of anything about his involvement with the E side of ENT, aka the ears. He is an ENT, so this does mean that he received formal and intensive training when it comes to all things ears, but you can definitely tell from his website that this is not something that he currently specializes in or really treats. And I'll let you see how things go from here.
Let's do another hearing test and let's see where we were compared to before.
Okay.
She just randomly really wants it.
A hip replacement. She loves to play up.
Now, it's my job to be a little bit critical about this setup here, and I do recognize that this is a reality TV show and that very often a lot of the production shots aren't really representative of how it actually went down. But if I can insert just a slight criticism here, they end up doing the hearing test in the same room using a portable audiometer. She's wearing a set of headphones. She's got a button that she can press, except that the person that's testing her hearing is sitting directly in front of her, where Chris can totally see what buttons she's pushing and what she's doing as she's testing her hearing. Again, I'm going to presume that this is how they do things from a production standpoint of things, but this is definitely not how a hearing test should go.
You were nowhere close to anything that needs any kind of aiding. You're perfect.
Now, hearing this out of the mouth of a doctor or a physician might help some people to feel kind of a sigh of relief and kind of drop some of that anxiety that there's something more serious going on. But for individuals who have been struggling with their tinnitus, especially if it's something that's really making a major impact on their day-to-day life, hearing that you're not anywhere close to needing any sort of aiding and that you're perfect, that actually isn't something that is very helpful for those people. While it might give them a tiny, tiny sliver of temporary relief, it doesn't address the fact that they've been dealing with enough symptoms that are significant enough to warrant coming in to see a doctor about it in the first place. I know that if I was having a significant sort of ailment that was really causing issues in my life and I went in to see the doctor and they said, "Oh, no big deal, you're all good," I'd be sitting there like, well, I'm glad that I'm all good, but obviously something is still wrong here. In this case, I find that it's extremely important to question the physician or the doctor about how they made that determination. And then also, if you feel like you're not getting the answers that you're looking for, please seek a second opinion. In this case, and based off of his website, it's very obvious that Dr. Nasiri is an ENT physician, but he is definitely not a tinnitus specialist. And this is also something that's typically handled by audiologists that specialize in tinnitus management. That probably would have been a better starting place for Chris on her journey in determining where her hearing loss and her tinnitus symptoms are coming from. But then we have to address what comes after that, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I was sitting at home on my couch watching this episode and I already had several different nail-biting moments where I went, ooh, I'm gonna have to talk about that in a video. But then he goes on to say something that actually made me scream. You can just watch it for yourself.
Oh, that's good.
This is where we kind of ruin your life a little bit. You ready?
Okay.
So, if it tastes good, spit it out. So, carbonation,
I don't drink anything
Caffeine.
carbonated. No
Onion.
caffeine.
garlic,
No onion.
mint,
What?
wine, no alcohol, which you really don't drink, and then cheese. All those things stimulate the inner ear to hear more tinnitus. Let's see how you do on your ear diet.
I'm sorry, what did you just say? The only two things that I've ever heard on that list of having an association with tinnitus are going to be caffeine and alcohol. Caffeine can be associated with tinnitus because it has the potential to elevate your blood pressure, which can cause more blood flow to the inner ear and can cause you to perceive your tinnitus at a higher level. However, that's not true for everybody, so the blanket statement of cut out or reduce caffeine overall isn't going to work for everyone. The second one is alcohol, and that has an association with tinnitus because alcohol can actually change the fluid balance in the inner ear. This change in the fluid balance can cause two things. Number one, in your balance organ, which is connected to your hearing organ, it can cause some dizziness or unsteadiness, and over in your hearing organ, you can have some temporary changes in tinnitus perception. But I then decided to do a little digging on Google Scholar because, again, I had never heard of any of these other things like onion, garlic, mint, I think he even mentions cheese, as having an impact on tinnitus perception. And what do you know? I do a quick Google Scholar search of tinnitus and garlic and find nothing. How about tinnitus and onion? Nothing. Tinnitus and carbonation? Nothing. Tinnitus and cheese? Nothing. Well, maybe tinnitus and mint? Nothing. It's stuff like this that really bums me out because, again, we see hearing loss and tinnitus on a primetime television show, and so I get all excited like, yes, people are finally gonna get some good information about this, and then we're met with this. This is not solid information about tinnitus management. This is not even close to solid information about tinnitus management. Any tinnitus specialist that you see about a problem like this is going to start digging about your past medical history. How are you sleeping? What are your stress levels like in your life? Are you able to follow a daily sort of exercise routine? Sure, maybe what does your diet and lifestyle look like, but it's such a comprehensive picture. To just throw out a couple of ingredients that you might have in your pantry and say, stay away from those, that's your new ear diet, womp. I hate that. And there's always the unfortunate question of what if someone who really is struggling from tinnitus watches this show and gets this information of, man, I guess I gotta cut down on the cheese. Man, I guess I should cut mint out and see if my ears stop ringing for a while. This is not solid advice. Again, I probably shouldn't be that mad. At the end of the day, it's a reality television show. There's a production element there. They may have had a much wider, much more broad conversation about tinnitus management. Who knows? But from the little snippet that I was able to see, I was not impressed.
I'm really happy I don't need a hearing aid. I was kind of looking forward to tuning out the kids, but that would have been fun for a
You
while.
got the headphones for that.
Yeah. No hearing aid today. I'm pretty
Never.
happy.
Not for at least 15 to 20 years.
Okay. Thank you, doctor.
Super, super, super bummed out here to see someone who is a, quote unquote, hearing specialist, ear doctor, hearing physician, whatever you want to call it, who says with such disgust and such distaste of never, you're never going to need a hearing aid, not for 15 to 20 years at least. This is a person that just came into your office saying that she's struggling and can't hear and that her ears are ringing off the charts. You tell her to cut out cheese, carbonation, and mint, and then tell her that she's never gonna need a hearing aid. This is unfortunately a perfect example of when a topic like hearing loss or tinnitus pops up on TV and it is not done justice at all. So let's take a second to calm down and set the record straight. First of all, if you're experiencing ringing in your ears, no matter if it's been there for the past 20 years or if it just popped up over the last few months, you definitely should begin with a comprehensive hearing evaluation, preferably by a tinnitus specialist if you can find one. During this evaluation, the provider that you're working with should spend a significant amount of time getting some of your background, your case history, your medical history, of course completing a comprehensive hearing evaluation, and then discussing with you what the findings were. If you are struggling with your tinnitus perception and you are told that everything looks normal and you're all good, please don't stop there. I know that a lot of providers like to think that people want to hear that there's nothing wrong, but the fact of the matter is that that individual is going to walk out of the office still perceiving the tinnitus that was bothersome enough for them to walk into the office in the first place. This is why I mentioned, please go on to get a second opinion if that is what you were hit with. Again, a tinnitus specialist should be able to provide all sorts of different strategies or technology recommendations, and we've got a lot for tinnitus these days. There are a lot of strategies out there surrounding lifestyle that can make some really significant impacts on your tinnitus perception, like sleep, stress reduction, exercise, mindfulness, breath work. And on the technology side of things, we're seeing all sorts of new things pop up, like biometric tracking, sound therapy, different digital therapeutic apps and programs, and even things like hearing aids or linear, like bimodal neuromodulation. We've got videos that cover every single one of those topics, and I'll be sure to list them and link them down in the description below so that you can go and check them out. Overall, I really don't expect reality television production to go out there and educate the masses on hearing loss and on tinnitus, and to do it in a way that's really high quality and research based. But I do think that if we're already going to be talking about a misunderstood or perhaps not very well-known topic, that we should try to do a little bit of education and a little bit of research before we put it on one of the most popular television shows on TV. In the meantime, I will continue to watch the Kardashians, mostly for all that drama that I said I wasn't going to review earlier, like boyfriend drama, business drama, family drama, things like that. Just promise me that if you're going to do the same, that you don't pay any mind to any sort of medical information or suggestions that come off of that show, okay? Now, if you see tinnitus or hearing loss brought up on any sort of mainstream television show or movie, feel free to drop that in the comment section below. I would love to take a look at it and do another reaction video like this where I kind of debunk the information that they talk about. And that's it for this video, but if you've got someone in your life that just loves the Kardashians, go ahead and share this video with them so they know to keep their eyes peeled.